Welcome back to our latest edition of Mindful Matters podcast. I am Oresztesz, one of your co-hosts. It is lovely to be here with my friend Richard, coach of coaches, a fantastic hypnotist, therapist, coach, and author. So, Richard, it is lovely to have you. Welcome.
Thank you, Oresztesz. Really happy to be here, my friend.
So, how have you been? It's been an interesting week. We are doing a little bit of practice training for taking our training skills to the next level. So that was fun, exciting, and a lot of learnings in there, and just learning how to guide others, how to give your best to the people that are there to take some interesting, empowering skills, and it just feels fantastic.
Wonderful. And tell me a little bit more about this fantastic feeling and these fantastic skills, Oresztesz, because I know a lot of people might know that that you do your work as hypnosis, but you also spent a lot of time these last few years leading groups and looking after groups as well. So how's that working out for you at the moment then, with the in terms of the
Training?
the training program that you're on?
Yes. Well, lovely. I have to say that, fortunately, I have this kind of weird confidence in some cases where I'll just say, "Oh, sure, I can do this. Let's get in there." And I wish I had that in other things where I feel stuck sometimes. But fortunately, with training, it has always been like, yeah, let's do this. I'll just be there for
Right.
for the students. I'll just be there. I did trainings for parents because I'm guessing any therapist at some point will realize how insanely important the formative years are, and you want to kind of transmit that knowledge to parents. But there is a fascinating thing there. Eventually, you find out that parents think they know. They think they know. They know better because they had a childhood and they know what they didn't like and they know what they want to do. So yeah, I know everything. I'm just gonna be awesome in this, and and that's not always the case. Otherwise, I wouldn't have any work to do as a therapist, and unfortunately, I do. So yeah, yeah. So
Brilliant.
it's just this awesome feeling being able to get out there and guide a group of people throughout the learning of a new skill. What I find fascinating, now that you ask, is being able to teach, but I feel like I'm also able to teach beyond the material, because there is a lot of, oh, I'm nervous, how do I do this, can I do this, this is overwhelming, this is too much. So I have a sense that at the same time as the teaching occurs, there is a whole new level of teaching that happens on how to relate to learning, how to relate to growth, how to let go of your older identity, how to jump in and experience something. And that has been fascinating.
Beautiful. I really like that. Look, I just occurred to me, Resty, that you've obviously got when you're like this, that you have maybe what we might call it sounds like it's your kind of ideal learner identity, something with you have this weird confidence, things are flowing. Would you like to would you like me to show you how you can capture that? And maybe some of our listeners can piggyback on that as well, because it just strikes me that it's such a lovely thing, and to have that kind of trust that you're doing now, to have that weird confidence that you want to have and take to other areas as well, is exactly what our clients have.
So you're saying that our listeners should first really make sure that they remember something where they just feel no lack of confidence.
Yes,
It's something that
yes.
you can do, that you just don't think twice about, even though
Uh,
you might even had some people ask you like,
yes.
how do you do that?
Yeah, yeah.
And you might have seen
Like,
others struggle, and you're like, wait, but that's yeah. So if you have
absolutely,
something in
absolutely.
mind, I think it's going to be
Something in
really
mind.
easy for you to jump and play along with me, as I feel like Richard is preparing something really special for me.
Well, I just think that when learning is easy and fun like this, and you have a kind of that kind of confidence, it's just weird confidence that you can do it, and
And learning
I
is
have that for
learning.
writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, for learning. It's a real it's a you just do it. Like we had a conversation once, and you said, Richard, how do you write a book? I said, I just sit down and write. It's just a weird confidence. Like I'm just going to write. It's just words. Like I'm writing an email. So I'm just writing. So when you're like this, Orestes,
Mm.
what you can do is with eyes open or eyes closed. But if you do choose to close your eyes, you can. That's right.
I'm kind of as if my eyes were closed,
Yes,
kind of
I
visualizing
know.
right
I can
there
see.
in
I
front of
can
me.
see. And you know what it's like, do you not? When you have this weird confidence when learning for learning and it's easy and it's fun and this weird confidence.
Yes.
When you, that's right. But what animal, Orestes, looks like learning like this weird confidence? Feels like.
It's, that's, that's hilarious. It looks like a lion in the front,
Mm,
which is a really nice, empowerment symbol. But it has just really these scrawny, tiny legs in the back that you cannot see if you're facing the lion. It's just
mm. And lion
it's hilarious.
and face and legs and hilarious. Kind of lion is this lion, Orestes?
You know what? It's really interesting because those hind legs, they just look scrawny. They actually,
Mm,
they are actually quite strong. It's
right.
though yeah, they seem like charred or really
Mhm,
cut down to the. I don't know if you ever seen a cat that's wet. It seems like
mhm.
like one third of the cat that you are used to knowing. So
Yep,
that's how tiny the back part is, only the two hind
right.
legs, but it has everything that the lion would need if it needs to run. It has very good support.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got a lion and all the support it needs, and scrawny, and all the support it needs.
Mhm.
And is there anything else about a lion like this when all of that?
Yeah, I have a sense that that lion could just kind of appreciate
Mm,
and recognize what those hind legs do.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So take a moment, take all the time you need to really appreciate what those hind legs can do and support and weird confidence and all of this.
Yeah. Lovely. I mean, I have a sense that I would love to take another 5 minutes out of this. I have
Sure.
a sense that it would look a little bit weird in the middle of our podcast for our listeners. So I will put
Wonderful.
a pin in that, but I just love the feelings that are already coming up. It's
Beautiful.
this is really empowering. It seems like, becoming more aware of the unconscious representations of things.
Mhm.
It can yet again empower us very nicely. So
Beautiful.
thank you for that experience.
Awesome.
And
Oh, of course.
of course, our listeners, if you are just having fun with this and you found some interesting aspects of your animal, then feel free to pause us. You are the most important thing on this podcast, even though you can't see you right here, but you are. So
Absolutely.
take all the time you need and then rejoin us.
Perfect. I love that. And what kinds of feelings are coming up after just taking a few seconds with that process, Orestes?
The word that comes to mind that most closely describes it, because otherwise I don't know how to describe it, it's more wholeness.
Wholeness. Nice.
Yeah.
Wholeness. Beautiful. Beautiful. And I really like that. What I really like is that you're already enjoying this, your journey of training. You already have this kind of confidence that's just to proceed. And now this kind of wholeness. And the beautiful thing about this is that this wholeness could be interested in going to other areas. And that's really the beauty of the work that we do when we see a wholeness and the word confidence support other areas of growth, as well as continuing to support what's already working really, really well. So thank you for doing that. And for anyone else who's going through that, enjoy that. You trust, like Oresztesz did, whatever comes up. And if you want to share, if it can be private, you can keep it to yourself. But if you want to share your experiences, very welcome to put that in the notes as well. And because this is a really powerful process. You had no idea, did you, Oresztesz, that you were going to see a line like that?
No, I did not. Now, the most fascinating thing is that, a conversation like this can sound, and this one is from experience. I mean, I have done this process a number of times, quite a lot, actually. I've experienced this process a number of times, and still the insight and the feelings that accompany it and the empowerment that comes from it, it is so powerful that it is really difficult to imagine when you're just hearing a person talk about a lion or whatever their animal ends up being. But the insight, the discovery, it can be what I would imagine, as having studied as a psychologist as well, might come after months or years of therapeutic conversations. It is just really, really empowering and liberating at the same time. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Powerful.
Love it, Orestes. Fabulous. Beautiful. Beautiful.
And since we talked about the training, I really appreciate reinforcing the training state and just understanding that it can absolutely expand and go to other places. I also wanted to do just a quick summary of that empowered learning state, because as you were asking those questions about catching up, you really helped me remember one very, very important thing, which is the way I want our students to be, the state I want them to be, the mindset I want them to have throughout the trainings. And that is engage, jump in, have fun, just really appreciate whatever exercise there is. I always warn them, look out, you will get to the point where you're overwhelmed. If you're not feeling overwhelmed, I'm not doing my job right. I'm just leaving you in your comfort zone, and you're not coming to a training to stay in your comfort zone. You're coming to a training to stretch your mind. So I promise you, I will do everything in my power to make you feel overwhelmed at some point. Now, when you do, and this applies to any learning, whenever you are exposing yourself to any kind of learning, you definitely want to come to the point where it feels too much. When you do, just pat yourself on the back. Hey, nice, good job. I have reached a point where my mind is it is feeling the stretch. It knows that this is not the usual knowledge. This is more than what I used to be before this training or before this point of getting to the overwhelm. So welcome that feeling, welcome that sensation, recognize it, and just allow yourself to go through it. I promise you also, and in the trainings, this is what happens. But it applies to any structured learning. Whoever is teaching you, they know their stuff. They know enough to have created a structure, to have created a set of exercises that you can practice in that structure. So that point of overwhelm is also the time to let go of hoping to control everything and trying to make sure that you know everything as it's happening. So just allow your mind also to feel comfortable enough to just go with whatever is asked of you. Do the exercises, jump in there. It doesn't matter that you don't understand it yet. You are much better off exposing yourself to an exercise, going through it, and then try to understand it. Sometimes you don't have to understand exactly what is happening before you can get an experience. Experience will teach you so much more anyways. Yeah. So this is the kind of learning state that I highly recommend for anyone to keep in mind whenever you're learning anything.
Beautiful, Oresztesz. I think that idea of the staying in that kind of curious state, one could even call it, wonder and awe, but fascination and willingness to dive in. It was funny, a few years ago, I recognized that if I put up my hand when I felt completely out of my comfort zone and completely incompetent and dived into exercises, I would learn much more doing that. And so I got very comfortable being really uncomfortable. And it's really interesting because a lot of things went in that I learned that I could do, but I didn't really understand. So even several years later or some time later, now I can go for understanding. But actually, the understanding was actually much more minimal and much less important than the actual skill that I wanted to embody. Like, it's nice to know about the structure of the skeleton and the cells in the human body and the tendons and all the names, but you don't need to know that to walk. So, I think that is a really lovely, it's a lovely way. And I think it's really important to just remind people, at least here in the West and I'm sure in quite a few other countries, children are not often brought up and encouraged at school to make lots of mistakes. And people, in fact, try to either prevent that or see it as a negative thing. And actually, that's how they learn to walk. It's how they learn to talk. It's how we learn to do anything. So when you can shift your mindset, and it does take a little bit of effort towards being okay to not know, to not have all the answers and to make mistakes. And to have those mistakes, the more mistakes you're making in the context of learning that you're taking and then reflecting on afterwards, you'll make much, much more progress. And, and I noticed this, some of the people who have been done the best in relation, gone out with, been successful meeting other people or building networks or building their businesses or learning and growing things, always pretty much say the same thing. We're not smarter than other people. We don't have more advantages, but we'll just go out and do things and learn from the experience. And so I think it's a really wonderful idea and concept that you mentioned, and I think it can be hugely valuable for people, just like you were willing to dive in today and have an experience, and you didn't know what it was going to be like, and yet there you were. There's those little scrawny things and support, and a stronger support and a deeper support than you even realized.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm even wondering if what you mentioned isn't more about redefining what a mistake actually is.
Sure,
We might even consider
sure.
the concept of a mistake not even being considered so much a mistake, just
Mhm.
a
Yep.
byproduct of exploration, of growth, of curiosity.
Yep.
And there is another interesting thing, and that one is a little bit about feedback. When you're learning,
Mhm.
I also find that there is a lot of value to be had in focusing much more on the things that are working, where you
Mhm.
are doing the right things. This one is this one is something interesting because I think many of us have a natural tendency to notice imperfection, to notice what was missing, to notice what could be improved, to notice what can be strengthened. Now, especially during what happened to be a new training for me, I mean, the training was an entirely new skill for most of the students. So, what happens there is if it's not only the fact that you learn things right, because we all heard the about the experience of, I don't know, learning a skill the wrong way, and then you have to unlearn it and start from scratch and whatnot. And that's okay, you know. If you are learning to play the drums or an instrument, that takes some time in learning the very basic, very specific things. But most things are not really like that. Most of the time, if you learn a skill, even if you learn something the wrong way, unlearning it, decomposing it, and building it up from zero, it's not really building it up from zero. It's everything that you have learned, and this tiny thing is what you have to break down and build up again, and then it integrates into all of the other things that you already know. So it might feel really annoying, but what the important part of learning in this way is that in the beginning, you are not freaking out constantly of doing it 100% correctly. And that is so much more important because it's not only the skill, the end skill that you're looking at, it's also the reason, the way you get to mastery is by constantly engaging with the thing. Call it the piano, call it hypnotherapy, call it, I don't know, networking skills, whatever it is. So the way we begin to engage with something, it needs to be positive. If you have some first experiences of something you love, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's interesting, it's curious, it makes you want to have another go at it, then you will do the engagement until you reach mastery. If the beginning of a story is, well, there is this missing, and there is this missing, and there is this missing, and I keep visualizing this whole thing. You're here, so this is missing, this is missing, this is missing. It's not like that. This is not yet ready. This is then the journey itself to mastery just feels like a chore. It feels disempowering. It feels like a constant failure. And that is not what you want. And the beginning of any skill, do look at the things that you enjoy about this, the things that you are doing. I mean, this is not this anymore. You have learned all of these things down here. That is awesome. That is great and wasn't easy. So enjoy the process. Make sure that you're having fun in that growth. And then once you're here, then you can say, hey, you know what? You know what can take you even further? This thing that you can do better is going to take you even better. This thing is missing. This is how you get it. Yeah, then by then you already have a robust sense of knowledge. You already have built up and be accustomed to enjoyment and appreciation of your skill and of what you're learning and what it can do for you.
Lovely. I think that's so, but it's a real powerful. I mean, there's some huge stuff here today for people to take away, Orestes. At the weekend I went running with my son. I've been running every day. I run sort of 6 days a week now. And the thing is, he said to me, he said, what are your goals for running? And I said, you know what I mean? I'd like to maybe do a half marathon this year. He said, but I'll happily turn up to the park run at the weekend with you. My aim is to enjoy the process of getting ready, getting my stuff there, and getting out the door and going and doing that first thing in the morning before I do everything else. And, no matter what the weather is. And I'm really enjoying that. Funny thing is, we turn up at the park at the weekend. Now, Jacob's doing much faster than me. He came about 16th out of 180 adults. But I was not too far behind him. And, well, maybe a minute or so. But the thing is, I didn't have to, I'm just enjoying it. And I think when you can do that, when you can bring that joy, that spark to it, you can have fun. Even like you were saying about the stuff that when I'm learning a computer program, okay, I will just press the buttons and find my way around it, and there'll be error messages come up, there'll be spelling mistakes, and that is my learning process. I'll engage with it and I enjoy it. Other people, if they come along, they get very concerned. They're like, oh, you're doing this and you're pressing it. So it's okay. I'm enjoying it. I'm learning. And that's how I will do it. And that's how I do when I write books. I'll write it and there'll be typos and other things. I have a process that I go through. And it's not wrong. It's not right. It's just like, it's like having the statue that you're kind of like gently chipping away at. And I think if you can bring that spark of joy that you will have in some areas of your life, or even take the time to appreciate some aspects of what is going well for you, and what you're already doing well, then you, like you say, Orestes, you already have a vast amount of the skills. You're just seeking to grow in another area, and then, well, then you can really enjoy that. You can get enough experiences in that to make it something that, you know what, I'm going to keep coming back to this a little by little and often. And then who knows, all of a sudden, sometimes you finally have this weird confidence when you step into something and you don't know where it came from. And yet there it is.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And talking about keep coming back to something. We appreciate you staying all the way to the end and keep supporting us by your views, by your subscription and your likes. So it is lovely to have you. And I hope you did take away some really empowering ways of learning and growing that can be very, very helpful, and you can use it and make sure that it really empowers you and you enjoy the ride. Thank you for staying till the end, and hope to see you next week on our next episode.